Or yo yo yo, we're back. Super special episode of Talking Game. I'm your host, Anthony, LT, Yellow Tape King, King, Tony, whatever you call me. Let me know what I was on when you was fucking with me. And we're here with a super special episode. My man Deuce, defer to the game. What's up with you?
Nothing much, man. Doing good.
That's good, man. That's good, man. Hey, I want to say I love your content. Um, the content that you make makes baseball fans better baseball fans.
Thank you. I appreciate
And
it.
nah, it's dope. It's super dope. It's super dope. I do want to start off with, this what got you into covering baseball, especially as in depth as you do.
Sure. So to rewind it like all the way back to like day one, I
Okay.
got to start with my family background. So it's ironically not in baseball at all. It's in football. So I grew up in a football family. My dad coached at the college and NFL level,
Okay.
and myself, my three brothers played Division One small college football. My dad coached at various levels. I grew up in those locker rooms, and for us, baseball, especially for me and my dad, was something that was sports related and something we could follow and something we could have a lot of fun with, but wasn't necessarily related to the day-to-day grind of, 9-on-7 inside run drill or or when I was working as a ball boy, making sure the cones were set up for
Nice.
7-on-7 drill or something like that. So, and it's the summer, so there's sometimes not a lot going on, especially in the NFL. So, my dad's a diehard born and bred Royals fan.
Yeah.
When I was coming up with him, the Royals around 2015 were starting to get really fun.
True.
And we lived in some interesting places right around team when teams were getting good. So we were in Detroit in the mid 2010s when the Tigers were having a bit of their run. So I
Okay.
watched a lot of that team. And so baseball for us was something where we could kick back, relax, and just enjoy the game. And so I've always really loved baseball. It's been something that I've been able to kind of study on the side and got into covering baseball basically because I realized that I'm sure other people would benefit from the long paragraphs that I'm sending to my brothers or my sister or my friends or explaining to people on FaceTime. And so just really wanted to share that knowledge. I try to keep things that defer to the game interesting for the people that really like the nitty-gritty of baseball, as well as making sure that it's a welcoming and inclusive environment for people that are getting into the game. Because if baseball needs anything, it's more people that know about baseball that are also really excited when new people get interested in baseball. So that's kind of the atmosphere that I'm trying to foster with Defer It to the Game.
That's pretty dope. So my follow-up question is, did you dig into football to the depths that you have like dug into baseball?
As a player and growing up with it, absolutely. I was a complete football nerd. So,
Gotcha.
you know,
Gotcha.
my dad kind of grew up in the pro style offense, a lot of Belichick and Parcells stuff. I played in a little bit more of a spread RPO offense in high school, and then I played Service Academy triple option football in college
Woo.
at Citadel.
Nice.
So got a chance to experience all of the different offensive philosophies that are going around football. And by my senior year, I don't want to say like a third assistant offensive line coach, but had the playbook down to such a knack where I had a binder that I basically photocopied and gave to the freshmen. And I'm like, these are all the notes you're going to need. This is everything we've gone over for the last 4 years. Every check, audible, everything diagrammed for you. If you're a reader, all the rules are written out. If you're a visual learner, all the plays are sketched out. And it's just kind of the way I approach things. It's the coach's kid in me.
That that's dope. You ever think about getting into coaching?
No, I know how the sausage is made.
I feel you. That's I always my running joke nowadays is this is why the Wizard of Oz didn't let you behind the curtain.
Exactly. Like if you like something, never find out how it's made because you might not like how it's made. So, I've been in those meetings where we picked up a guy off waivers on Wednesday for a Sunday NFL game, and I'm with my dad in the room, and we installed an entire NFL offense in one night because this dude had to be ready to catch passes from Matthew Stafford at practice tomorrow, and he's going to expect people to know the plays.
Sheesh, man. That's tough, but cool because that, like you say, that just give you a different perspective, which helps when you're somebody like you who's giving out good content.
Absolutely. And, I try to pride myself on being a good public speaker because whenever I would move to a new place with my dad, the first meeting, I would have to go up in front of the entire team and do three different things. So, say my name, where I'm from, my signing bonus, and a joke.
Okay.
So if you've ever seen Hard Knocks, that's a lot that like a lot of guys do that.
Yeah.
And so I had to get very good at being like, my name's Deuce Prince from Charlottesville, Virginia. My signing bonus was room and board for 18 years. And then whatever joke would follow after that, depending on how old I was. So,
Feel you.
but
I feel you.
loved growing up with football and then baseball. I'm not I could turn my brain off, but I'm not the type of person that just turns my brain off. So I
Yeah.
naturally just started to learn more and more about the game.
Just progressed into baseball.
Exactly.
Um, well, that goes, you moved around and moving around and being places where teams are good when you move there. Do you have a favorite team or do you have favorite teams, multiple in baseball?
So in baseball, I was kind of born into the Yankees. So my grandparents on my mom's side lived just outside of New York City.
Okay.
And with all the moving around, I was basically only assured that I had grandparents in New York. That was one team I could claim without anyone being like, well, you just moved here. You can't claim this team. But when I was 12, I went to Tampa Bay Rays spring training in Port Charlotte, where I actually live now, and
Gotcha.
had a chance to get a peek behind the curtain, saw like all of the behind the scenes stuff of spring training, got a chance to meet Joe Madden, who was the manager at the time. And so it kind of planted a seed in my mind of the Tampa Bay Rays. And I'm just someone that naturally identifies with underdog teams. And so, especially now that I live here, basically all my time as a fan is spent with the Tampa Bay Rays.
Yeah, man. The inevitable Tampa Bay Rays.
The inevitable. You can't stop them.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, every year is me, um, and a couple of my cousins. We just talk sports. And I'm a Yankees fan. Same situation, born in the Yankees house. Um, they always ask me like, who's the Yankees' biggest competition? And,
Mm.
hold on one second. Yeah, and the good thing about that is I'm growing up in the 90s in a Yankees household.
Oh, so you were there for the golden era.
So it was easy to say I'm a Yankees fan. But
Right.
um always who's the Yankees' biggest competition? Who's the Yankees' biggest competition? And it doesn't matter what any team does in the offseason, even though this year I did pick the Orioles to come in second.
Yeah.
I'm always saying I'm scared of the damn Rays.
Well, the Yankees and Red Sox have had a lot of really good, like tense moments, a lot of good scraps. But for my money, the one with Tampa Bay when CC Sabathia gave up the whole bag on
Yes,
innings bonus
yes,
and just plunked that dude, and the bench is empty. That's for my money one of the best brawls in baseball, like
yes.
easily the best.
And one thing for sure, I don't care how rich these guys are. They want their money.
Yes.
So that shows you how much it was like, this is about baseball.
Oh
This
yeah, this is about my guy. They went after my guy, and it's the only players union in America with fully guaranteed contracts.
yeah,
So the people in baseball are very serious about the bonuses, the incentives. Like, we're not just throwing away this free money that guys like Kurt Flood, if you've ever read about Kurt Flood or Lonnie Smith, guys like these basically threw away their careers
yeah,
to earn that leverage. So it's why CC's a Hall of Famer. It's why he's one of the best pitchers because he's going to stand up for his guys. But
sure, for sure. And he's one of the last guys we're gonna see from that like old school cloth.
he's from a different cloth. I don't. It'll be very rare to see a guy like that come again.
This is true. This is true. Um, so what got me watching your content was you going through all 30 teams,
Ooh, okay.
which was crazy.
Was this the Otani trade?
No,
Or
this was before the season started that I
okay, yeah.
and you went in depth. First of all, you gotta dry erase board, which is I don't know. I don't have space to
The
even think
coach is kidding me.
of doing that. So you bring out the dry erase board. What made you want to go through all 30 teams? Like what like you're sitting at home and you're like, I'm looking through the Rays. Let me do this for the Diamondbacks. Now you're like,
I think it's a couple of influences that I have. So on the football side, I don't know if you watch this guy. His name is Brett Coleman. Does a lot of really good football stuff, and he does these great like 45-minute long deep dives into each team before the NFL season starts.
gotcha.
And just kind of assessing where I was at in terms of my ability to edit and produce stuff. I was like, okay, 40 minutes is not going to be feasible with a normal job schedule. And so I was like, all right, let's try and do some bite-sized deep dives into all 30 teams. Let's try and give people a sense of where they're at. And it's accessible enough that if you're a Yankees fan, you're probably not spending a lot of time thinking about the Arizona Diamondbacks.
Yeah.
2001 was a long time ago.
It still hurt. It's right here on my side. Still a thorn.
So, but it's like, okay, if we can condense this down to like a minute or two, get people the information they want to know. If you hear about player X that comes out of nowhere, you might have heard about that guy just a little bit earlier, so you can feel a little bit smarter about watching the game.
And I definitely felt smarter and a better baseball fan after watching your content.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
My question for you is after doing your deep dive for all 30 teams, let's start on the positive. Nope, let's start on the negative.
Okay.
Which team has the most bleak future going in the next 5 years, projecting out the next 5 years?
So I'm not going to call it necessarily bleak, but it's tenuous. They have to hit the right notes. The Texas Rangers.
Really?
Yes.
I was not expecting that.
So you'd think, okay, this team won a world championship 2 years ago, right?
Yep.
Well, Simeon and Seager are both in their mid 30s. They're both very productive players, but there's a natural aging curve that follows any player, no matter how good they are. Only a select group of people of like Hank Aaron and Satchel Paige have done so without supplemental assistance
Yeah.
from a
Yeah, for
doctor.
sure.
But um, a lot of their other players in their lineup do not have long-term contract security. A
Mm,
lot of them have the potential to go to arbitration and negotiate for higher salaries, as well as potentially go to unrestricted free agency and go elsewhere. The biggest concern for me, though, mainly is the rotation. The rotation is very old. Kumar Rocker and Jack Leiter both are now at the major league level, and they seem like they're doing well. But when you're getting a good rotation in baseball, you have to be a Costco shopper, not a Whole Foods shopper.
mm.
You got to have at least 8 starting pitchers that can give you serviceable innings, not just two. And so, DeGrom, Corbin, uh, some of these other guys, they're getting up there in age. And so injury risk follows with that, as well as they're expensive. Jacob DeGrom is great, and he's expensive for a reason. So I would say it's not necessarily a guarantee that the Rangers fall off, but the Rangers have to do a lot of stuff right to keep the next 5 years competitive. They're going to be good this year, I think. They're struggling a little bit, but 5 years from now, when some of that team ages, it could be a little tough.
Do you think the Rangers' willingness to spend money will save them? Will that be like the life raft in like year 3 or 4 going forward?
It depends because that sword can swing both ways. you know, you can be like the Rangers right before they won that title. They spent a lot of money and they got a lot for it. They got their first World Series ring, but sometimes you can have an LA Angels situation where they weren't afraid to spend money, but it just wasn't allocated correctly. And I think they went down the right path because it seems like they have a plan for older starting pitchers,
Yeah.
but they have to stick to that plan. So that
I
I would say they have to spend their money smartly.
I don't think a team spent dumber money or stupid. I don't even know how to describe it, but just bad contracts are worse than the Angels.
Good money after bad,
Good,
the
there
whole
you go.
time.
Chasing good money. Thank you. Good money after bad. It's and every time the Angels made like a splash in free agency, I would read the article and say, "Well, who the fuck is going to pitch?"
Right.
Like I don't care who you got in position players. Who's going to pitch? And I'll just give you like I have like a rule of thumb for baseball.
Yeah.
I don't trust teams without a surefire top flight ace.
Yep.
And I don't trust teams without a certified closer. You don't got to be the best closer, but
Right.
we need to know who's coming in the ninth.
Yes.
And the Angels never had that. No matter what they like, no matter with Otani, Trout, Rondon, that's a whole nother situation. He's gonna single-handedly
Brutal.
force the CBA to change.
He's going to get them on NFL contracts.
Yep, yep. Him and Chris Bryant. They're
Man,
not.
oh my God, Chris Bryant. I was surprised by that. Rendon, I didn't really follow that much, but if there was a guy I believed in, it was Chris Bryant. But
I-
the Rockies signing it was a sign that things were a little bit weird with him because if Chris Bryant was still Chris Bryant, then
yeah,
it would have been another team besides the Rockies. And to get back to the Angels, culturally, we live in an era of contrarians.
yeah,
Like we live in an era where it is going to be cool to zig where other people zag.
yeah,
And so you're in Los Angeles with the ultimate blue chip brand in the Dodgers. There are going to be plenty of people that want to go on the other LA team
yeah,
because they think it's cool to be against the grain. And so, like, if there was an era for the Angels to be good, it's now.
yeah. And they clearly don't mind spending money.
I can't fault them for that. They do like spending some coin.
It's just they spend stupid money. Like it doesn't make sense.
And I think it starts from the top. I think they do see a lot of pressure in their market from LA spending all of that money. Just the difference is all the Dodgers people are from Tampa Bay.
Mm,
And so, it's kind of like all those Tampa people are like Dave Ramsey once they get to LA. They've been working on the super small budget in
yeah,
Tampa for
imagine.
all these years, and they're like, man, well, if we had a couple extra $1 million, imagine what we can do. And we're seeing it right now.
Well, now I have another question. See, the guideline is always good, but the conversation always brings other questions, right? So
Right,
it's interesting that you say that all the guys from the Dodgers are Rays guys, former Rays guys, and they're used to a smaller budget.
right.
When you look at the Dodgers budget, it's not what it seems with all of the deferrals.
That's why I called the channel deferred to the game. That was actually the Dodgers' whole spending spree was
Really?
the inspiration for the name because obviously you have like charge it to the game.
Yeah.
And so for me, I was like, well, all these people are basically just deferring this thing to the game, and that's where the name came from.
Do you think that we talking about CBA? Do you think that's something that the league is going to try and like stop or at least like pull back the reins on, like deferring like all this money? Because the Dodgers got a lot of deferred money.
They do have a lot of deferred money, and one thing that I'll probably swing back around on is that it's not as uncommon as mainstream media seems like it is right now.
Yeah.
So deferred money has actually been around since the 1980s.
Yes.
So goes all the way back to a relief pitcher named Bruce Sutter,
Okay.
the original forkball guy,
Got you.
and Ted Turner signed him to the original deferred contract.
Hmm.
And Ted Turner was kind of a maverick, owner of the Braves, Turner
Yeah.
Broadcasting. Like he was the first person to try and think of this. And the owners were appalled because of the interest that deferment accrued. So if you've seen like the headlines about Bobby Bonilla Day or some of the other deferrals, and you're like, why is that money so high? The contract was only for $20 million. It's because they accrue interest over the course of that contract.
Got you.
And so I think there are going to be teams that go after that. not necessarily because of the competitive imbalance. If someone wanted to sign Otani to that contract, really any owner could, based on how the money is spread out. The main thing is it makes teams difficult to sell.
Mm.
So you've got a lot of older ownership in Major League Baseball. Today, Jerry Reinsdorf just announced that he's going to be doing kind of like a long-term transition with Justin Ishbia of the Suns.
We could talk about
And
that too.
yes, and if you have a deferred contract like Shohei Ohtani's that lasts for like 20, 30 years, that's a financial commitment on the books that a following owner is going to have to honor and acknowledge. So those deferments make teams very difficult to sell when the books are committed financially in the future.
Gotcha. See, that's why I needed you on talking right there. Defer to the game. I needed you on talking game right there.
Exactly.
Real quick to touch on the White Sox.
Yes.
Look, Justin Ishbia, the brother of Matt Ishbia, the
Hmm.
owner of the Suns and the Mercury. Matt Ishbia took a team from the finals to not even making the playoffs.
Yes.
I hope Justin Ishbia does not run the White Sox. I guess you can't make the White Sox no worse, huh? I guess that's the upside. I was really thinking about it. I was like, well, I guess the White Sox can't get any worse.
It's a rough situation in Chicago, and I think there's going to be some improvement because there's a lot of old-timey management in charge in Chicago right now.
Yeah.
They're still kind of riding high off the 90s Bulls and the '05 Sox. And now there's new money that might not be committed to winning, kind of like some of these other wealthy owners,
Yeah.
but it's a more financialized way of doing it. So they're going to try and extract value for the least amount of money. And so I don't want to be cynical, but I think there's going to be at least some improvement because the people have some budgetary skills behind it rather than just kind of like, this is the way we've always done things.
I can see that. I can see that. Plus, it's, when you're looking down, when you're looking up from the floor.
Right. And it's interesting because there is a long-term financial commitment before Ishby actually takes control of the team.
Okay.
So the headline says like Reinsdorf to sell to Ishbia, but for the next 5 years or next 4 years until 2029, Ishbia is just responsible for investing in the Chicago White Sox.
Mm,
So
gotcha.
he's going to be investing money to help organize the finances, pay down any debts. And then from 2029 to 2034, Reinsdorf has the option to sell parts of the team to Ishbia.
Okay, that sounds similar to what A-Rod did with the Timberwolves.
Yes, and it's funny you bring up A-Rod because uh, Ishbia was one of the leading contenders to buy the Twins.
Mm,
And the Twins have had a lot of issues with debt over the course of the last couple of years with their current ownership. And so the thought entered my mind of, oh my God, what if A-Rod buys the Twins?
ah, nah, he was having trouble getting the money up for the T. Like A-Rod from, and I'm an outsider, and these guys got way more money than me, but it seemed like A-Rod was. Did you watch the show Ballers?
Yes, I did.
I feel like A-Rod was the Rock, like trying to buy the Chiefs. Like he wasn't the
Yes.
guy necessarily with the money, but I can pull together the money with the people.
Well, it's interesting to me because the ownership transitions have become so long term that the actual cash on hand is becoming slightly less important.
Yeah,
Even the Boston Celtics, who are getting bought by a private equity company who have billions to spend, they're actually spreading that purchase over 3 years.
gotcha.
And so there are going to be plenty of people that will try and literally take out a mortgage on buying a team.
That's.
I won't be shocked if that happens in the next couple of years.
I mean, these teams are getting expensive. You kind of have to. These, I,
There are only so many people that have as much money to buy even a small market team. Like if the Sacramento Athletics went up for sale, there's still only like 150 people in America that could purchase that team,
then you got to
if
think
that.
about the amount of people that want to purchase.
Right.
So then that number gets small. And hey, man, that's the beauty of a business for baseball, but it might be the tough thing about business for all sports is how do we sell if we want to get out of this?
100%
Because who
because
has the money for this?
you're buying something on the basis of it being an asset on your books or on your family's books. And instead of it being like stocks or bonds or any type of other investment, a sports team to the public is perceived as almost like a utility.
Yeah.
Like and rightly so, because these teams are for people's enjoyment, not for John Fisher's. So like it's weird because you are expected to operate this team almost like in a nonprofit sense rather than in a profitable sense. And the owners that do run it like a business, they tend to not do very good on the field, one, and two, they tend to be really unpopular.
You know what's crazy about that though is I've always felt like winning brings you more money.
Absolutely.
So like when owners in any sport don't try to compete to win, it's really confusing to me. Like I get that you can make money losing.
Yeah.
It has to be more satisfying to win, and you're still going to make money. More
Yeah.
playoff games means more revenue, more jersey sales, more merch, more concession. Like all those things comes with winning.
And think like, if you're a team owner and you're marketing your team to advertisers,
Yeah,
yeah, the think about the Florida Panthers. This is a great example. The Florida Panthers have done a really good job putting a winning product on the ice, not on the field, in South Florida, a place that most people would be like, there's no way hockey works there. And they put a winning product out. They sell out that arena,
yeah,
which is basically on the Everglades. And so they get people to come out. The price of sponsorships goes up. That eases the financial commitments from the owner, as
yep,
well as, if you're at the country club, there is a real effect of like being able to move in different circles if you are considered a successful owner. Like,
yeah,
Robert Kraft is going to be able to move in whatever circles he wants, not only because of his success in the private sector, but as well as the fact that he's arguably one of the most successful owners in NFL history. There's no room that's shut out for him because everyone wants to be seen and
yeah.
especially seen doing business with a guy like that.
I'm going to correct you. 7 chips, you the best.
I'll throw that label on Belichick. I'm not shy about throwing that label on Belichick, and you know what? Fair enough for Kraft too. Like
Yeah,
I'm partial to the Green Bay Packers non-owner, but if we have to say one owner, it's probably Kraft.
yeah, for sure. You got 7 chips. You're the best. You're the best to do it. Um, See that question kind of got us off the most bleak.
Yeah, exactly.
It gets you going. But on the flip side of that, out of the 30 teams that you did a deep dive in, which team do you feel like has the brightest future going forward? And why is it the Yankees?
So I actually came into this with an agenda. None of these answers are going to be Yankees or Dodgers because
Okay.
I want to be like Craig Mack. I want to kick some new flavor.
Okay.
So, so brightest future to compete right now, Seattle Mariners, easily.
Mm,
They have 7, 8 great starting pitchers locked in their rotation or in the minor leagues developing. Starting pitching is really expensive to acquire from outside. And so they have the best rotation in baseball, in my opinion. And, with Cal Raleigh doing what he's doing right now and
big
Julio
dumper.
Rodriguez, big dumper being solid. Julio Rodriguez is one of the most underrated baseball players right now, which is crazy to say. And JP Crawford, Jorge Polanco, a lot of these guys have really gotten better. And so I would say, in terms of competing right now, Seattle Mariners.
How do you uh, how you don't mention your boy from Tampa, man? Rosarino's out there balling out.
It
I'm
still
sorry.
hurts.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't mean
I wore 56 in college, so I'm like super biased to Randy. Randy is like the spark plug a playoff contender needs.
yeah.
And so, the most important at bats Randy or Rosarena will take this year will come against the Cleveland Guardians or the New York Yankees, depending on who the Seattle Mariners play in the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Last year, I was hoping he went to the Braves because I wanted his ass out of the American League. I was like, the Braves need a left fielder. Go get him. Go get him.
And the
Get him
Braves
out
have
of
to be kicking themselves now that they didn't.
yeah, because they tried the Verdugo thing, and is a
Well, well before then, they tried Jurickson Profar,
they did, and
and Buddy was on the juice.
which is crazy. He's got to be the smallest person to test positive. Um,
Crazy.
has to be the smallest person to test positive.
And
Um,
before we move on, I want to talk about brightest future to become competitive, and that's the Miami Marlins.
playing.
This is a wild take on my part, but Augustine Ramirez,
It's going on social media, by the way. So,
look, I'll stand on my square about this.
all right.
I think the Miami Marlins do legitimately have a bright future to become very competitive. And I think if they play their cards right, if they get the right things back for Sandy Alcantara, and they're able to get valuable innings from guys like Otto Lopez, Jesus Sanchez, Xavier Edwards, I don't think this team is ready yet, but I think in 5 years we'll be like, all right, the seeds are there.
I'm not mad at what you're seeing on paper, but I can't neglect the history of the Marlins.
That's true.
And
That is very true.
this is a team that had Christian Yelich, Ozuna, and Stanton in their outfield, and they all left. But actually, they all got traded, not left. They
Right.
they traded all of them. Three, well, two MVPs and Ozuna, depending on the year and what's going on, could be an MVP. I just can't trust them, man. We got Jazz Chisholm for some peanuts. You
Yep.
know, only person Sandy's been linked to is the Yankees, and I'm a Yankees fan, and I know our farm system is terrible. So like, you trade them. Hey, keep doing us favors. I'm not gonna be mad as a Yankees fan. Like,
I was gonna in the respect that Sandy is not worth giving up George Lombard Jr. You're exactly right.
like so. I just can't trust the Marlins management to do the right thing.
And it sucks because clearly everyone without like a chief title, they do some of the best work in baseball. Like you mentioned it, in terms of developing players, there are like maybe two other organizations in baseball that have been better over the last 15 years at creating great starting pitchers.
Yeah,
Like guys like Pablo Lopez, Sandy Alcantara for a hot minute. Like they have produced a lot of really good players. And so the guy that's running Miami right now, the GM, is a Tampa Bay guy. So if they can figure out the ownership part, then I do genuinely believe that that team can become very good.
that's they switch ownership, then holler at me.
All right.
Until then, I can't roll with you. You my guy, Deuce. But that one, I gotta tell you, hell no.
No one wants to tune in to hear the Dodgers are going to be good in 5 years.
This is true. This is true. You're giving us compelling content right now, so I'm all for it, bro. I'm all
Exactly.
for it. I just wasn't expecting that. I thought you would have said the Cubs or something. I
Oh
don't
yeah,
know.
I do flavor.
I feel you. So my next question is, which stat can you look at to see if a team is doing good without looking at their record?
So if you were looking on baseball reference and you just put blinders on the team record,
Yeah.
this is the easy answer, run differential. So
Yeah, true.
run differential gives you how many runs you've scored versus how many runs you've given up. Now, early on in the season, this can be polluted if you win like 20 to nothing. But typically we can calculate what a team's expected record is off of that. And, that's a good baseline to judge where a team is. If they're underperforming that, maybe there are problems in the clubhouse. Maybe there are injuries. Maybe the team just isn't meshing well. If they're overperforming it, then shoot, maybe they are doing some really good things in the clubhouse. Maybe they just have good vibes and maybe they've just had one really bad loss.
Yeah, like the
The
Yankees.
Exactly.
Team
The
that's
other one, the other one, this is piggybacking off your argument for you need to have a great closer, bullpen ERA.
Mm,
because most teams do have decent starting pitchers or starters for a reason.
yep,
But if you can take a 5-2 lead into the sixth inning, hand the ball over to your bullpen, and they can win the game for you, then you're a team that's likely to be legit.
for sure. I agree with that. Right now, who? Just quick question: who has the best bullpen in baseball?
Ooh, my before everything kind of went haywire, my answer was the Yankees.
Not with Devin Williams' ass.
Devin Williams is on.
Cut your fucking beard, Devin.
Man,
Every run,
he
every run
he
you give up.
he was making ATLians in Milwaukee, and now he's making flute albums in in New York.
I love it. Love it. Jesus, man. I don't know. Devin Williams, I don't know. I think that well, his fastball has gone down.
Yes.
So you're not keeping people honest. Now they're just waiting on the changeup. I don't know, man. I think the pinstripes might be too heavy for him.
And that's the toughest thing because you have to know because there are some guys that are super talented and the moment is too big for them and they let it get to their head and then you have guys that are like my favorite Yankee of all time, Brett Gardner.
Hey,
Brett, the moment was never too big for Brett,
yeah, went up there and did his job.
and by no means was the most talented guy on any team he played on. But you know, dude's from Holly Hill, South Carolina. He's playing with house money.
Yeah, I could. He's an all-time Yankee in my eyes, so I'm not mad
I
about it.
I would love to see him be the manager after Aaron Boone.
I would like to see him be the manager for Aaron Boone. I'm also not a big Aaron Boone guy, but for real. But yeah, when it comes to the pinstripes, I call it the Sonny Gray effect, man. I feel like
Mm,
Sonny Gray, great with the athletics,
yep,
comes to the Yankees, stinks it up, goes and be great with the Reds.
exactly,
We've seen that people are good before and after something happens with the sandwich in the middle.
exactly.
It's tough.
And there's no way of knowing because some guys can be expected to be good like Juan Soto and are great for the time that they were in New York. And then some guys can be expected to be great and not do great, and some guys can be expected to do nothing and are great.
Hey, Deuce,
What's up?
you're a friend of the pod. I'm hoping this won't be your last time on here. We don't say that name on here, okay? His name is the other. His name is the other 22. Okay, the other 22. All right,
Oh,
Ben Rice is the only 22 we acknowledge around here. Okay,
they found a better Dominican wearing the 22 jersey.
you feel me?
That's that and Ben Rice, who's that? I know Benji
Benjamin
Aros.
Ross. Ross. For sure, man, for sure. Um, what's your favorite random baseball stat of all time?
So this is pulling from a great guy on YouTube named John Boys.
Okay.
So John Boys compiled what Barry Bonds' 2004 season would be like if he did not swing the bat at all.
What?
Just if people pitched to him like they normally did and he never swung at a pitch, what would his on base percentage be? Just give me a guess.
Barry Bonds?
Barry Bonds had a 608 on base percentage in 2004, just regular.
Okay. So what was
He did
his?
not have a bat.
Let's just say 650.
It was 609, but like
So he just was taking walks, just constantly, just they were just walking him.
his plate vision was that good and pitchers were that afraid of him that they either were not throwing strikes to him at all or he was just working a count until they walked him.
Wow.
So based on the probability of Barry Bonds swinging or not swinging, he would have a 609 on base percentage in 2004 if he did not have a bat. I cannot recommend that video enough. It is one of the gems of baseball YouTube.
Jeez. I'm gonna have to look that up.
It's a great one.
One thing I do like to go back and watch is just old Barry Bonds highlights and stories of people who were around as a teammate or people who faced him as pitchers. And that guy was he might we might have to do like a off the cuff pod with and like do like a smorgasbord of people who've been on. And we might do
Yes.
like who are the scariest athletes of all time? And Barry Bonds has to be on that list.
If I were to rapid fire one from sport to sport, if I was looking at football and baseball, Lawrence Taylor,
Yep.
Aaron Rodgers, and Barry Bonds.
Aaron Rodgers definitely he's losing some of that shine, but if you think about prime Aaron Rodgers, he was scary. My mom is a Giants fan, and she was rooting for Aaron Rodgers like he wore the blue. So like,
Oh my God. So my dad coached it for the Detroit Lions
okay, yep.
when A-Rod was in Detroit. And do you remember the Hail Mary
Hail Mary.
game? That put us at 7-9. Missed the playoffs by one game.
Jeez. Lost a spot in the playoffs from a Hail Mary, which is crazy.
If Jesse James or whoever that random lacrosse player the Packers had run that Hail, if he didn't catch that ball, we make the playoffs.
What's crazy is Aaron Rodgers kind of made that a staple. Like for like a couple years, you were scared of a Aaron Rodgers Hail Mary.
And that's why I say it's like Barry Bonds because he was able to manufacture luck at something that you aren't supposed to be able to control.
Yeah. Or
Barry Bonds was able to make people not throw strikes, and Aaron Rodgers was able to make Hail Marys, the most coin toss play, happen consistently.
or even like to some extent, Steph Curry, like as soon as he crossed half court,
Yes.
like just pulling, like one similar in a sense when you think about like the type of play. I always think about this is when I was like, Steph Curry is a superhero. When they played OKC in that regular season game, he
Yes.
pulled from right past half court and he still had 3 seconds left. And he made that shot, and the crowd was nervous when he took the shot. And that it's not even supposed to be a good shot. That's
It's
when
it's
you
a
know.
terrible shot for
That's
anyone
when,
else.
that's when you know you're a bad man. And Steph Curry might have to be in that
I
most
yes,
deity.
100%.
You know what I'm saying? He might be one of those for sure. Um, oh yeah, let's go player comparison. That was
Yes.
yes. Okay, so Deuce, I we might be stepbrothers.
Ooh, okay.
Okay. I'm a comparison guy.
I like a good comparison.
I am a comparison guy. So I want you to give me a MLB player comparison to another player in another sport for Shohei Ohtani and Aaron Judge.
So one of my favorite quotes is that comparison is the thief of joy.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna use this in an uplifting sense, and you're gonna really like this comparison.
All
So
right, what we got?
Aaron Judge is Lawrence Taylor, Shohei Ohtani is Deion Sanders.
That is fucking spot on.
So Aaron Judge, think about Lawrence Taylor. Lawrence Taylor made offenses in the NFL change how they approach their whole blocking schemes, their entire offensive strategies. If you did not plan in that game for Lawrence Taylor, the whole thing is going to blow up. If you don't plan for Aaron Judge in your lineup, he's going to make your day terrible.
Yeah.
And, he's going to hit the guy that throws the ball really hard for
Yeah.
LT hitting the quarterback, for Aaron Judge hitting the baseball. And then for Shohei Ohtani, I totally Deion Sanders, partially because Deion Sanders was a two-way player in the same way that Shohei Ohtani is right now.
Yes.
Shohei is a two-way player, but they're managing his innings, and you have a great starting pitcher when you have Shohei on the mound in the same way that you have a great kick returner or a great wide receiver when you put Deion Sanders out on the other side of the ball. And just so multifacetedly talented in a way that we've never seen before. There will never be another Deion Sanders, and I don't think we'll ever see another Shohei Ohtani They were so completely multi-talented as individuals that they could break games just by their sheer versatility. Like Deion Sanders had a 1,000 yard kicking return season while being a Pro Bowl corner.
You know something? Two things. Um, about the Otani Deion Sanders thing. I don't really have anything for the judge because that was just spot on. First thing, Deion Sanders to me is the greatest athlete ever.
I
Uh,
don't think you won't get any pushback from me on that.
and my I always say this about Deion Sanders. This is how you know Deion Sanders was great.
Hmm.
He played for the Yankees and the Braves in the 90s.
Yes.
Neither team needed to sell tickets.
Right. And they didn't need us. They didn't need a publicity player.
They
They
did.
those two organizations had so much internal development that if they if they didn't think he could actually make the team, they wouldn't have bothered.
We didn't need like think about the Braves in the 90s. We don't need anybody. You have to be able to help this team.
Man, you want to talk about like a Locks versus Dipset versus 90s Braves versus 90s Yanks is like that tier of conversation we're dealing
That is
with.
that is true. And another thing about Dion that I didn't really even think about it until maybe like a couple months ago. And I was talking to my lady. You know you're great in Deion Sanders. Bro, you didn't go to any of the off-season stuff for the NFL. And you're still considered the best cornerback ever. Like you didn't even practice.
Give me that half of the field, I'm taking care of
You feel me?
it.
And honestly, similar for him with baseball. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Because if you're playing for the 49ers, you're playing for the Cowboys, you're playing into the end of January.
The highest level of competition in that sport. I mean, the Dallas, San Francisco in that era of the like early to mid 90s is as good as you can get.
Yeah. And he was the man.
And I was gonna say you can draw the cultural comparison too. Like Deion Sanders was a cultural shift in America. America's not the same place that it was pre Deion Sanders in
True.
the same way that Shohei, as much as Ichiro and Hideki Matsui and Hideo Nomo, those guys brought Japanese talent to baseball. Japan arrived in baseball in such a way with Shohei Ohtani that baseball's just not the same game again.
Look, man, I'm at my son's all-star game. It's me and another guy. We're real cool. A dad. We're talking and we're looking at all the kids. And he says, Otani got kids wearing New Balance like that?
Yep.
And I And I tell him because I watched it, it was the night before I'm watching them play the D-backs. I say, yo, Otani is a new era poster boy when he walks out there. The hand
Right.
guard, the arm, the shoes, the sleeve is all new balance. And translating to the kids. And that's when you know you're the guy.
Well, and think about the style like you were mentioning with Otani. The corners that we're watching in the NFL right now. Think about Jalen Ramsey rocking the big baggy sleeves, or all
Yep.
the guys that rock the long sleeves with the one elbow band like Dion. Or how many kids in the 90s were rocking the worst Jerry curls known to man because Deion Sanders was doing it. And like Shohei's the same way. Everyone's mimicking that style, and every like it's the same level of cultural shift.
My my Otani question is a baseball question for you. Is will we see more players hit and pitch? Like, because think about like Paul Skeens hit up until like his senior year in LSU.
Right.
He hit pretty well. He probably could have got drafted as a position player, but then you take that away from him. Do you think we'll get to a point where we'll have prospects come up doing both and then they can do that at the show level?
I think it Shohei has reduced the fear in organizations from doing it. And I also think that it is a development assistance as much as it is an on-field assistance. So I'm a big proponent of people playing as many sports as possible, as long as possible,
Yeah.
because you're doing different motions, you're working different parts of your body. I mean, you and I live in Florida. If you are a baseball person or if you are a football person, you're doing it year round, doing the same set of athletic motions. And I do think that's a reason behind a lot of injuries. And
Mm,
so, a guy like Jack Caglione, the kid that just debuted for the Kansas City Royals, he was a pitcher as well as a hitter. And they let him pitch and they let him do different things as he was getting his feet wet in professional baseball. And eventually they were like, okay, you're probably not a major league pitcher, but you are a major league hitter.
yeah.
Let's focus on that as you get into double A and triple A and get ready for the majors. So I think in that formative development span, in that like late teens to early 20s, people should be doing as different motions as possible because I think it's a better athletic development tool more than anything.
Agreed. Agreed. We shall see though. I think it's crazy because as an ownership aspect or view of it, I might want you to hit as well as pitching because let's if you're a starting pitcher, you're probably gonna miss a year from Tommy John.
Hmm.
That is where baseball is going.
Right.
And we still gotta pay you.
Exactly.
So how about you pick up this bat and you earn a couple of these dollars?
Well, and think about it. If you're not Jalen Ramsey, if you're not Travis Kelce, if you're not any of these like one of one guys in the NFL, you're expected to play special teams.
Yeah.
There's not there in the same way that bullpens in major league lineups are so specialized. The NFL, we've only got 53 roster spots. If you're not the guy that we're paying $30 million to,
I
you
get
are
it.
going to be on punch shield.
Yeah. Gotta get in where you fit in.
Exactly.
Yeah. Ah. But that's why I feel like you should give them more chances to fit in.
Exactly.
So like I say, pitchers at this point is almost a foregone conclusion. You're gonna have Tommy John surgery. Like it's crazy how that's became baseball.
I hate it.
You know what I'm
But
saying? But I gotta figure out. I'm just thinking about me being a business guy. I gotta find some value in you because you're just sitting here now, especially if
yep.
you're like a top flight pitcher and you're Garrett Cole and I'm giving you $30 million a year, and now you're just sitting here. You're a pitching coach.
Yep. Them's the breaks right now in the industry. We just we got to figure out a way to get wins out of because a guy like, whoever like Shohei Ohtani or any of the other guys, they're top tier athletes. They're probably going to be able to figure it out one way or another.
Yeah, true, true. Um, all right, did my comparison. Let's do some rapid fire. Let's do some
All
quick
right.
stuff. All right. You said you're not gonna say Dodgers and Yankees, but I'm about to hold your feet to the fire. Who you got winning the World Series?
The Detroit Tigers.
All right, we're gonna end this.
Look, I'm not giving a
I'm not.
Yankees or Dodgers pick.
I'm
We're not
not gonna.
going the basic route.
I'm not mad at Detroit though. I'm not mad at Detroit. That's a good pull. And if they're playing not the Dodgers, the Padres, let's just say another California team.
Right.
The end of October is rough in Detroit.
It is. It is. And
The end of October is, I mean, Yankee Stadium, it gets cold there too, but it's different in Detroit.
it grinds some down and it polishes others.
True.
If they can
True.
figure out a way to say like, you know what, we play cold weather baseball here. Like if you bring your ass from LA, we're gonna make it miserable for you. Like do it like the old Minnesota Vikings. Take out both dugouts heaters. Like, go real skullduggery and make it as difficult as possible.
Hey, that's the beauty of home field advantage.
And it is an unquestioned advantage for cold weather teams like the Yankees. Like it is an advantage.
Yeah, for sure. Uh, can anybody sneak up and win the MVP from Judge or Ohtani in either league? And who?
So in the American League, it's going to be Cal Raleigh.
Yeah.
I think that's the consensus pick. I think that his offensive value from the catching position is really something we've never seen before. And, I think that as we get more statisticky and sabermetricy in baseball, there are a lot more people that understand how difficult it is to be the everyday catcher
Yeah.
while also hitting as many home runs as he does. So I think he's the only guy with a realistic shot to catch Aaron Judge.
Okay. What about the National League? Anybody catching Otani?
I think Otani is such a runaway favorite at this point. The only guy that could catch him is Paul Skeens.
Not Pete Alonso?
I I think everyone's getting a little bit of Mets fatigue right now.
Why?
I think people are tired of the Real Housewives of Flushing.
I feel you. Hey, trust me, I am. But once you like get out of the drama, they are winning a lot of games.
They are.
Izzo is balling out. You know what I'm saying? He's carrying Juan Soto.
You wouldn't I would not begrudge Pete Alonso if he won that MVP whatsoever because I do think he deserves it based on the season. Like he is in that top three tier right now of MVPs. And I if the Pirates won more games,
Yeah,
I think Paul Skeens would be in the running because we've only seen a couple of pitchers do the Cy Young MVP sweep. Clayton Kershaw is the most recent,
yeah,
and Paul Skeens is a Clayton Kershaw type. He is that star level, and he's my contender for Cy Young, and he's gonna win it with a losing record, I think.
yeah. That's why. Okay, two things about that. First, I got to be honest with you. I'm not a pitcher winning the MVP kind of guy.
I think it's like Felix Hernandez got robbed like four different times
Yeah.
because of BS win losses, and Jacob DeGrom kind of broke the seal on that one season where he went like 8-10 with like a 1 ERA.
But on the flip side, I do like that though, because if my ERA is down to one whatever, I don't hit. I did my
Right,
job. I've did all I can do. But I'm just not a fan of pitchers winning MVPs because you only play once every 5 days.
right.
You know what I'm saying? And it's just not,
It,
36 starts out of 162. That's not
right.
enough.
And I chose Paul Skeens because it would take such an incredible season to top Shohei's right now,
Yeah.
just from his hitting right now. And we don't even know if he might make like a Willis Reed on the mound in the playoffs.
I
And
think
if he does that, it's over.
I think I think he comes back to the mound post All-Star break, and I think that's what's
Yep.
gonna seal the deal. Like once he starts pitching. But I was on before the season started, I did a baseball podcast, and I know they won't do this. Um, but if Shohei pitches and wins the MVP, we might have to like redo awards. Like, we might have to go best player and MVP is like two separate things.
It's kind of like when MJ was on his run in the 90s. Like the NBA was trying to find guys to give it to besides Michael.
But even that though, players did what Michael did. It's just Michael
That's
did it
true.
better.
That is true.
He's doing what Otani's doing. Like
Because he is Paul Skeens adjacent when he's going on the mound. And
exactly.
he is Aaron Judge at the plate. So it's
I don't know. Like the judge is touching different stratosphere right now.
Judge is on a but like career
Oh
wise,
yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure,
Aaron
for sure.
Judge, Shohei is producing about at that level. The past 2 years we've seen from Aaron Judge are going to cement him in Cooperstown, and no Yankee is ever going to touch 99
Yeah.
the day
I
he hangs it up.
yeah.
Like we're at that point.
The good thing though that I like, and especially I've always said this about baseball, going back to your Paul Skeens thing is I love the award system for baseball
Hmm.
because if you're the best player at what you do, we understand that you can't do everything.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like it's funny just talking about my son. He was on his rec ball team. And he was like they're 13 to 15. Mind you, he's 14. And he was the oldest person on his team.
Yeah.
So I told him, you got to be A-Rod on the Rangers.
Hmm.
And he didn't really get what I'm saying because he's young. But hey, man, Rangers lost like 100 games and A-Rod was still an MVP.
You have to it's a terrible sport for people with control issues.
It truly is.
It's a
It truly
terrible
is.
if like and any sport attracts alpha personality, so baseball people have to just put up or shut up with, like, because, even if you're an offensive lineman and you're the best offensive lineman in the NFL, you might not win MVP, but you do touch half the plays.
Yeah,
Mike Trout was the best player going in baseball on a bunch of 70-win Angels teams,
yeah.
and he had four at bats and maybe four plays in the field. That's it.
That's all I got.
Exactly.
I mean, you go back to Barry Bonds, and we'll intentionally walk you with the bases loaded. Like, I mean, it speaks to your greatness, but we're not going to let you be great tonight.
Right, exactly.
Be great tomorrow when y'all play the Dodgers.
Well,
Not again.
the craziest part is you're probably referencing the clip where the Diamondbacks did it with the bases loaded.
Yes, I am.
You know the result of that game, right?
What was that?
The Diamondbacks won.
Really?
They walked the bases loaded in the bottom of the ninth, and the next hitter flew out.
Yeah. Well, that worked out. Worked out for everybody.
This is that's even crazier. Like they lost that the Giants lost that game.
Shout out to Showalter, man. A baseball legend.
Absolutely.
Oh, all right, man. I got one more question for you. It's not baseball related. Is about your music choices, and I love
Got
it.
the wall back here.
About the wall back there. Which album on your wall is your favorite album?
All right, so going this is left to right. We got Takes a Nation of Millions by Public Enemy, Mood Valiant by Hiatus Coyote, Flower Boy by Tyler the Creator, Purple Rain by Prince, and just a general anthology, A Tribe Called Quest.
Got
My
you.
last name is Prince. I I've grown up with that in my life, and Prince has been like the music that has surrounded me. And I would be a fool to go with anyone but the purple one. It's Purple Rain.
I'm not mad at that. I'm not mad at that. Shout out to Prince. Uh,
I'm a 1999 baby. Like my dad had a little red Corvette. Like
oh
it
wow.
last name Prince. It was foretold before
Oh
I was
wow.
even born.
You didn't have another. You couldn't provide a different answer.
Well, I couldn't, and it gets even better. So, where I played college football, I played it. I played at a military college called the Citadel,
Yep, South Carolina.
South Carolina, and Charleston.
Yep.
The whole freshman year is basically like one frat ritual,
Okay.
and it's a last name culture. No one gets called by their first name, let alone a nickname like Deuce.
Got you.
And so, they'd just be like Prince. And one day we're standing in formation and people are just doing the dozens. And they're like, Prince, we need you to sing a Prince song.
Oh shit. And you were ready.
I was ready and like I had to belt it out in military, like kind of yelly format. I wasn't, and I'm not a great singer, so it probably saved me from trying to actually sing. And so, if at Charleston, it rains a lot, and so we're standing in formation before dinner, and it'd be like "Purple Rain, go."
Oh shit. And you out there like Prince at the Super Bowl.
Oh, 100%. It's one of those things where if you don't sing it, you're just gonna get on your worst. So you might as well just sing it. And so for me, Prince and Purple Rain especially, it's just a part of my life and always will be.
Cool, cool. All right. I know I said that was the last question, but one more thing because I'm looking at the TV. Have you
Yeah.
looked at the softball World Series?
Yes, I am guns up Texas Tech Red Raiders all day
I
on this.
I'm a Red Raider for the next 2 days because I think they're gonna win tonight. Um, but I'm new to the sport, so I picked Oklahoma like a bandwagoner. So
And Jeeves sold me on Texas Tech.
yeah,
And from college football, I like Mike Leach. I like the whole Texas Tech air raid thing. And so I was a super easy sell for Texas Tech. And so I've been on that bandwagon.
yeah, I'm not mad at that. Shout out to Texas Tech, Najee Kennedy.
Absolutely.
Uh, let's make this intentional walk a little more intentional if need be tonight. That's all I need. Um,
Exactly.
and funny thing about that is me and Jeeps on our episode, we were talking about Bree Ellis, the player of the year from Arkansas.
Yes.
And I asked her, because I'm new to softball, why don't they just hold up four fingers and intentionally walk?
Mm,
And she was like, we don't do that in softball. And to see how that, if you don't execute the intentional walk,
I
actually
love
play out
that.
like a week later was crazy to me.
Go out with your boots on. I like it.
Yeah, like that was crazy. But next time, I'm sure they'll do like they do for the girl Brie Ellis. Just set up in the other box.
Exactly.
What's going on here? On the flip side, and I'll ask you this. I'm sorry, I was supposed to have one
No,
more.
you're good, dude. You're
I'm
good.
sorry. If you're a coach, right, and you've had the most dominant pitcher in softball all year, and she's probably been the most dominant pitcher at least the last 2 years in softball,
Yeah.
why don't you let her, like, why don't you go out fighting?
Man, this is a hard one as a Rays person because of the Blake Snell incident.
Oh shit, that is true. I deep in
That
Florida,
that
I'm not
that
a Rays fan, but I root for the Rays, and I'm never going to forgive the Rays for taking Blake Snell out of the World Series.
that incident has always made me, you know what? If you go up against our best and you beat us, fine. We went out with our boots on. That like
Yeah,
we will live with that. Like I obviously if like the person wants to be taken out of the game, they're out of gas, they feel like they're gonna snap a UCL on the next pitch, like whatever. But if you take that look at them, and because like with her and with Snell, both incidences, you could see like the look in that pitcher's eye, like I'm still in this. I'm ready to roll.
yeah, man.
And
This is
and
somebody who's given up one run throughout the College World Series. I'm putting my faith in her. You know what I'm saying?
exactly, and you don't have any more games to save up for.
Yeah. We going out swinging. Going out swinging, man.
The only other thing I will say about softball is I am a uniform nerd. And so the fact that everyone there actually wears the high socks and
Yeah.
stirrups
Yes.
warms my heart. Ba- I love Prince Fielder. I will always be a Prince Fielder and McCutcheon fan,
Gotcha.
but we can leave the baggy pants in the 2010s. I want people to bring the stirrups and the high socks back.
Great. Hey, my favorite baseball stat, Prince Fielder and his dad ending their career with the same amount of home runs.
Man,
Only,
that's beautiful.
only can happen in baseball.
Only in like comparison to is the thief of joy. They
Yep.
both went out on top with the same numbers. Like
Yep.
it's the fielders. It's not just Prince and his son or Prince and his dad and Cecil and his
Yep.
son. It's the fielders.
Yep. So I love that. I love that. All right, man. We're gonna wrap this up. Tell the people where they can find your content. Tell them how often you're dropping content. Here you go. Talk to them.
Yes. So I am at Defer It to the Game on pretty much every single platform. You can find me on TikTok. I post on TikTok usually 3 times a day, usually later on in the evenings. I've got a Patreon where I do a little bit more written content, a little bit more long form if you want to get into the nitty gritty. And then I'm also getting into a little bit more of the YouTube space and starting some stuff on Spotify with a little bit more listening content so you can listen on your way into work. We try and keep it light to get people into the game as well as keep things interesting for people who are baseball fanatics. Cool series I'm doing right now is I'm going day by day as the new general manager of the Colorado Rockies, playing an out of the park baseball day to day. And by the end of the season, we're going to see if I am a better general manager than the people in charge of the Rockies.
I love it. I love it. Hey, I'm gonna tell you this. Get on YouTube.
Yes.
YouTube, the shorts, people watch the shorts. So make sure
Hmm.
you're uploading your content up in the shorts. As soon as you post it on TikTok, just put it on YouTube in the shorts. Your shit is gonna do great, bro. I already know it.
I appreciate it, Tony. Thank you so much for having me on. This is a blast and hopefully not the last time.
No, this is definitely not the last time. Like I say, like I've been collecting guests like Infinity Stones, like since I'm thinking of something like a big baseball like podcast where I'll have you on, Jeeps on. I got my boy Connor. He calls the games for the Cubs AA team in Knoxville. So
Oh, that's awesome.
so yeah, I'm gonna start putting this play together, man, so we can all get on and talk
A-
baseball.
Absolutely. And I appreciate what you do for especially the black baseball space. One of the first series that I did on my channel is the top 50 Negro League baseball players of all time.
Nice.
Black baseball representation. We need to see more of it. This face isn't necessarily the face of black baseball. I'm a bit incognito. I do come from a biracial background, and so
Gotcha.
baseball and Negro League history is one of the biggest ways that I connect with the black side of my family and my ancestry. So I appreciate everything you're doing to platform and really bring to the masses black baseball. So I just wanted to include that in.
Thank you. I appreciate that. They need people like me because Cam Newton said baseball is gonna be under the WNBA in 20 years.
Love
Oh,
that.
hey man, I appreciate you. Hey, for the listeners, everybody who tunes in, hey, the numbers go up every week. So I appreciate everybody who likes, subscribe, share. The TikTok is doing good. YouTube Shorts doing good. Instagram be hating on me. Instagram,
Mm. Instagram's tough. Instagram is tough.
Instagram's tough, but it's all good, man. I still appreciate everybody who checks it out. And we just gonna keep rocking out, man. This has been Talking Game. Peace.
Peace out, guys.